the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Hello and welcome to Sunny Side Up Family Talks, a podcast that's designed specifically for families to start conversations, keep the conversations going, and more importantly, to hopefully foster and build stronger relationships as a result of those conversations. We've got another great topic we're going to be talking about today. My name is Brother Robert DePaulis here in Tampa, Florida, and I'd like to go ahead and toss this over to one of our lovely hosts who's going to be helping us today here on the panel, and that's going to be there in the central part of the state, Sister Joy. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I don't know what other time. Right?
Well, here on Sunny Side Up, everyone, we are so happy to have all of you with us. So no matter where you are, because we are a global show, we're so happy to have you. So whether the sun is shining over you, or if it's hiding behind the clouds, or if it's even setting down, we are just excited to have you. So be sure wherever you are tuning in from, we want to know where you are from, or where you're listening from, or where you are watching us from. So especially if you're watching us on YouTube, please be sure that you comment in the chat, where are you from? Because it's always a sunny side up here. And yes, I am the most emotional part of this show, right? I am Sister Joy. So delighted to hear from you. Make sure that you let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from, because we're really excited to start the conversation today. But before we do, let's travel back over to the west side where it is still sunny. And we're going to go over to the west side of Florida where Sister Liza is. Hello, Sister Liza.
Good morning to our Sunny Side Up family. Good morning po from Tampa, Florida. Sa mga nakikinig at nanonood po sa Pilipinas, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Brother Robert, today we have a very relatable topic for the parents and for also our children. And I hope you stay tuned and join us as we talk about how we can help our kids to navigate the social media safely.
Thank you so much, Liza. And just like she brought up, this is a really, really important topic. And if you do like the content, please like and subscribe. And also do us a favor and share it with one other person. So this way they too can benefit from the conversations that we're going to be talking about today. But as we said earlier, today we're going to be talking about a very important topic called raising a digital kid. We all have kids. We didn't realize all of our kids were digital. But we are going to be talking about raising our digital kids, part 1, because this topic is going to require a multiple part conversation, especially since today we're going to be focused primarily on helping them navigate social media safely. So part 1 of this 2-part series, we're going to be diving into probably one of today's biggest parenting challenges, and that's going to be guiding our children through the fast-moving world of social media. From understanding the right age to start to recognizing the warning signs of digital overload, we're going to break down how parents can set healthy boundaries without creating fear, pressure, or resentment from them. And we're going to also explore how social media impacts our kids' emotional development, their attention span, and self-esteem, and what you can do to help them build healthy online habits from the start. So whether your child is begging for their first account, already deep in the scrolling world, this conversation is going to offer some practical tools and some red flags for you to look out for, and strategies to help foster that balance and responsibility, and most importantly, to safely navigate this digital age that we're in. So we're going to start this conversation off right away with probably the one question that I think a lot of parents have is, why does my 8-year-old need to have social media? And I want to throw that out to our wonderful panel. Both of them have kids, and they have kids at so many different ages, right? So Sister Joy, I'm going to start with you because you've got kids in every school era, right?
Yeah.
Elementary, high school, and middle school. So why do you think that kids in general need to have social media?
That brings me back to like one of those basics, the basic lessons, right, that we teach our kids. What's a need and what's a want, right? Do we really need it? And, this conversation is, I don't think this is a new conversation, right? Especially now that we are in a digital age. So when maybe even 5 years ago, when I would say, okay, digital, having social media is definitely a want versus a need. I think now as times are kind of changing, but this depends. Okay, I think this really truly depends on the age of our children. I don't think an 8-year-old, in my personal opinion, needs a social media account, and for them to manage that on their own. I personally don't think that they should. I know that my 9-year-old does not. So I personally don't think they should. But now that I have a high schooler, that conversation is definitely on the table. And so that want versus need has shifted a little bit, especially now that, like for my oldest, for Jacob, he's in high school. So, when we say, does he need it? I'm still kind of in between there. So for those of you who are listening on our YouTube channel, we really want to hear from you too, like what the need and the want for social media. Because right now, again, like my oldest, Jacob, he's high school aged, and I'm seeing things which I know that we're going to talk about. I see a maturity level in him that is completely different than my 9-year-old. So, navigating through that and making sure that some of these things, like the emotional, being able to handle things emotionally. Is he mature enough? Is he, or she, whether for your children, those are things, that we are looking at as parents. And I think that those are things that are so important. And, as a parent, I have to share this, like it's so easy for when our kids come up to us and they're like, can I have this? It's so easy to say X, Y, and Z. No, you can't have this. Or yes, you can have this. Or this is what's good. This is what's bad. We're just so full of information we want to give them. And I have to stop myself sometimes. And I don't know for you, Brother Robert, I would love to hear from you. But sometimes I'm like, okay, I have to put the brakes on when it comes to that. Because sometimes it just, when our kids come to us, I know that he just needs, or she needs just me to listen, to understand their perspective. And then as parents, our job is to keep them safe. And most of all, love them, right? And of course, adhere to our values, and especially as members of the church, making sure that we are prioritizing our Christian values. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And where we are with that season of life with our oldest. But for now, I don't think an 8-year-old needs.
Good point. I mean, wants and needs, right? And so you made a very clear case that a 9-year-old doesn't need it. A high schooler may need it, may not need it, but the whole factor about want. Have your kids actually expressed wanting to have social media at that age? Or because I'm noticing this trend with some kids where there's not even an interest in it. Now, for some, of course, it's like, if I don't have a social media account, my world is going to end. But have your kids expressed that, Sister Joy, that they're even interested in it?
You know what I've noticed? Each kid is different. So Jacob, yes, because he's very vocal and he will let me know. My middle one, he's just kind of a cool guy. He's so laid back. Caleb, yes, you are. And, he's just accepting. He's like, I saw what my Kuya had to go through. I saw what my oldest, and he's like, no, it's okay. I'm just not even going to bother. But my youngest one, she is like, so when can I have Snapchat? When can I have this?
Oh, wow.
Yes. So those types, so I think it also depends. I mean, all three of my kids have such distinct personalities. So that's one thing I've noticed, but we're definitely having those conversations with each of them.
Okay.
And as a family too.
I think that's fair. And usually girls, the tendency is that they probably gravitate more towards social media wants because of, their peers, right? They have, and many of them may have it. So let's go to Sister Liza. So Sister Liza, you have a daughter who's older, obviously, than Noah. And at her age, though, she's really, really young. How old is Naomi again?
She's 7 po.
She's 7. She's right on that, right on
Yes.
that cusp of that 8-year-old. Has she expressed any desire to have social media? Do her friends that are her age have social media that's kind of given her a little bit of influence in wanting to have one of her own?
Mhm. Yes. Well, before po, when we were in the Philippines, she was actually with friends who has a social media, who's using a Facebook, who using TikTok, watching their
Is it in her age?
scrolling.
She
Yes,
mean?
her age po. Yes, same
Mhm.
age. Also she has a cousin, she's 10 or 11, using social media too. So she was asking me, Mama, when can I have a Facebook? Because Ate has a Facebook. So what I'm just telling her that you can share your Facebook with me because, well,
Mhm.
basically we only use the social media just to connect with our family because we have a long distance family. So
Right.
that's the use of the social media for her. And sometimes po, she use social media like YouTube, wherein she can watch videos, singing songs, watching videos, making painting, drawings, just such things po. But the social media wherein you can use, where connecting with other people, exchanging something, I think that's kind of not appropriate yet for her age. That's why I told her not yet. I'm not telling her no, but I'm telling her not yet.
And I think that's a perfect answer because for a lot of kids, no just is so definitive, right?
Mhm.
And Sister Joy, I see you shaking your head because in fact, I think you alluded to that earlier when you were saying like you want to stop just saying no, 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 but saying not yet is really setting the stage, and that's why I think it's a great way of approaching it. It's setting the stage for you, telling them, "Not yet. You have to prove to me that you're ready. You have to prove
Mhm.
that you're mature and responsible in all of these things that
100%.
we value." Right? And I think that's a fantastic approach to parenting in general, just with anything, because um, I've always said, and I've said it in past shows, that as parents, our job is to prepare our children for when we're no longer here. So if we train them and we allow them to make mistakes and we allow them to sometimes fall, not to the point where it's unrecoverable, but as parents, we also want to prepare them. So that means you can't just be that helicopter parent who like shelters them from everything in the world so they completely aren't prepared that if we're no longer here to do things for themselves. So the not yet approach, I think, is a great approach to not just this topic, but many other things as well for them. Like, can I have my driver's license now? I want to start driving. And it's not yet. I wish I could have said not yet till you're 30, but my kids wanted to start driving a lot sooner. So
It's funny because I say, "Oh, but you guys are already driving. You guys are driving me crazy."
oh yeah, oh
Oh.
good point. Good point. Yep, I'm gonna write that one down.
I'm gonna use that line next time.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean that with all my love.
You've driven me to the point of losing my mind. So well, and so when we talk about the age appropriateness, we said 13 is kind of we mentioned earlier in the show that according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, here, at least in the United States, they're the kind of the governing body along with the Surgeon General and some other authorities that decide, what is an appropriate age for a person to be able to create a social media account without parent supervision. And so here it just happens to be 13. Now, 13 isn't a number that they just decided to pick out of a hat. 13 is where they believe that at that point there's a certain level of maturity that's been established. So, and that's based on research and risk and benefits that they've used. So, social media accounts here in the U.S., that's sort of the standard that they're using. But there's always exceptions to that rule, and a lot of that comes from you understanding your own child, right? I think we were talking about earlier. So at 13, platforms like TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat, they require that you have to prove that you're 13 years old or more. The proof is you've got to select a date that shows so it's kind of the honor system, that you are who you are and the age that you say that you are. The recommendation generally, though, is it's from 14 to 16 or older, because especially, wait until your 8th grade is really kind of the thinking, because at that point, you've got that emotional maturity from online pressure, because cyberbullying it's a real thing, right? The comparison culture that kids, having your 10-year-old daughter trying to compare herself to other, teenage girls that are online because, they're so developed and they want to be able to be like them. That kind of culture is something we don't want to expose our children to too early. And of course, as we mentioned, just the inappropriate content that is manifesting itself all over the social media platforms. So, those are things. But the key, I think, and we talked about this earlier, was individual readiness. Factors like self-confidence, the ability to think critically by themselves, knowing how to identify fake news. And I joked about this, but I'm serious. There's some adults that don't know how to identify fake news, that don't have the ability to identify a scam. So how much more your 10-year-old, your 12-year-old, and how can they handle online conflict? I mean, that's a real thing, because when you start to get bullied online, it's sometimes it doesn't end, it doesn't stop, right? And so they have to be mature and ready to deal with that. So when you're looking at these indicators, Sister Joy, I think what we talked about was not just purely on the surface, but how well do you know your kids is the key question, right? That's kind of what we were trying to drive home. And understanding what privacy is. Do you know, right? Don't share your phone number. Don't share our home address. Don't share your school schedule and where you're going to be at a certain time with perfect strangers, right? Ability to follow the rules and knowing that if you're not supposed to be online after a certain amount of time, that you're not on there when you're not supposed to be. But this one, I think, is that relationship between parent and child. And you had some thoughts on that, I know, Sister Joy, about, that relationship between parent and child. And why is that so important? Because if not, then kids will look for a relationship online, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think that's definitely something that we don't want for our kids, right? Is trying to fill in a void when if we just, put up the guardrails and say, okay, fine, my hands are up, go ahead. Let's social media is okay. Once they turn 13, like, okay, yeah, it's good. But if we don't cultivate that relationship and that communication with our kids, like, if we're not openly communicating with them and making them feel like they can come to us, for whatever circumstance, then it might just be a portal for them, to fill in an empty void. And we don't want that for our kids. We definitely want, in the most loving way to provide them this opportunity where they can connect with friends. Social media is a wonderful tool, especially, as members of the church. You can meet so many different other brethren from all over the world, and you can see all the different activities, which provides inspiration, especially for our youth members. It's really a great tool, but making sure that we use these tools correctly is where, as parents, that's what we're here for. We want to make sure that they feel comfortable enough to be able to turn to us for those types of things.
Right. And that whole point about the reason for using it as a tool, right? So you in the church, I think it's a great example because we have so many activities, right? We have these great activities that happen all over the world, even just here, just in the United States, even just in our district. And we want to be able to share that with fellow brethren. And some of the easiest ways to do that, obviously, is like through social media. And like I mentioned, for me, social media plays an important role because, as my family is growing through our grandchildren that we're having, we want to be able to share that with friends and family from all over the world. And Sister Liza, I mean, you coming over from the Philippines, you have a ton of family and a ton of identity that's still there back in the Philippines, right? And I'm imagining that this is the way that you stay connected with them.
Mhm. Yes po. Um, Not just everyday video calls, not everyday texting them. I cannot manage to call all my friends, call all my relatives in the Philippines. So posting online, so posting in social media, like they kind of get some updates, what's happening. But like we said, the social media, there's a lot of use. Like Sister Joy said, it's a wonderful tool, but we can use the social media in a smart way because we can use it in learning, especially if we have kids, if we have teenagers. We have to know what is the purpose, why you need a social media, because every children po has their different needs. They have a different wants. If they just want the social media just to connect with people, trying to fit in, we have to really take care of the kids, like ask them. We have to not really interrogate, but question our kids. Why do you think you need a social media? That's where the connection will start. Maybe our children is asking for something, like maybe there's lacking, they're asking for something that maybe they think that the social media, if they have this one, they can connect, they can click, they can fit in. But as parents, Paul, we have to communicate to our kids, to our children, why do you need this one? Do you have any problem? That you can always come to us, ask questions. We're here to to guide you, because not everything for that the children will see or watch in social media is appropriate, not
Mhm.
just in their age, not just, but also in our faith-based, um not in also in our
In our culture,
faith-based,
right?
yes,
In
in
our
our
Christian
culture,
culture.
being Christian, yes.
I
Yeah.
think that's so important too. And that's why I think setting boundaries, right? And we're
Yes.
talking about this is so important. So when that time does come, making sure that we communicate or letting it be known first, right? These are the boundaries of what social media is used for, using it for these good tools instead of, the endless scroll and then it's 4 hours later, because I know that there's statistics out there, right, Brother Robert, that for the youth today of what they're going through, of how much time they're
They're
spending on
spending.
social
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just pulled a study that showed that the average teen is spending, on average, and this is average, which means it's probably a lot higher, about 5 hours a day on social media, and that's on things like YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. The most common ones, and Facebook, for example. And that is those three alone account for about 87% of the usage of their social media consumption that they have. So if you're spending 5 or more hours a day, there's only 24 hours a day uh, in a day, right? We haven't yet invented a way of stretching the day out, even though I wish that we could sometimes with work, right? But with 5 hours of that being spent, and let's say you spend 8 hours, hopefully sleeping, and then you're spending 5 hours or plus in, trying to either work or go to school. Those are things that are busy. And then there's time you spend with your family. And then for those of us, of course, in the church who are officers, a large investment of our time is spent also in performing our duties. So if you think about it, some of those things you can't take time away from. So where are they taking the time away from? Normally it's sleep. So that means that, to make up that time, they're sleeping only 3 hours a day, 5 hours a day, instead of what they should be getting. So, those are real percentages. And it's so easy to quantify that because, like you'd mentioned, it's easy to kind of say, well, I'm going to jump on to look up a recipe or I'm going to jump on to look up this cute video that I saw that I want to share with Sister Liza or Sister Joy, about new parenting or something like that. But then next thing you know, you get caught up doom scrolling. And it's now 4 hours later, and as Sister Liza said, your laundry has to get redone again because you left it in the washer for too long. So it's and that's as adults. Imagine again a very susceptible 10-year-old, 9-year-old who's kind of doom scrolling through an account. So I think what you mentioned earlier, Sister Liza, about if Naomi wants to have one, then you can have a joint one. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
Yes,
If they aren't doing anything that they need to hide, they should have no problem allowing you to help create an account with them that you can monitor, that you can supervise. So this way you see who's messaging them and you see who's, contacting them and you see the content that they're accessing. That's a deal, what you could call a deal that you make with your kids. If you want to have one, then we'll create one, but I'm going to have access to it. And that's the only way you have it.
password, yes po. But as I observe Naomi po, whenever she use our phone, whenever she sees something po, she gonna ask first po, she will ask for permission first. Am I allowed to watch this? Can I watch this one? Or if she wants some apps po that she wants to download on her iPad, she's going to ask, Mama, can I have this? Papa, can I have this? But as parents po, we have to check first what's that app that you would like to
Don't just
download.
blindly say sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, po, because I think for me po, the parents should set the rules to our kids using the social media, and of course the children. That's how the children should ask the grown up for permission using the social media. And if we don't set for the rules that okay, you're allowed to watch or use your iPad or your phone, whatever, for 1 hour, then she will think that okay, I can use it all day, all night. So I have this rules po in our home. Every Friday she can use the iPad, she can use YouTube, she can watch in Disney, she can connect, or she can use Telegram, she can call her friends, but those are during for the weekend. But for the weekdays, she can only watch TV. I mean, she can only watch the TV, but not on the phone or any other platforms of social media, just on the TV.
I think that's a great rule because when you set boundaries like that and they realize that those boundaries exist for a reason. It's not that you're saying, again, it goes back to we're just not saying no, 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 no. We're trusting them and giving them a certain amount of what we'll call leeway and responsibility. And in a way, it's a way that they can prove themselves, right? Because if they're able to earn our trust by following the rules, because that's one of the things, if they can demonstrate that they can follow rules, and they're demonstrating their ability to be more mature, which means that could help them in being able to prove that they're ready. Because just because they hit 13, or 14 or whatever the age is going to be, it doesn't mean that they instantly are ready. It's up to the parent. And it's like, I think what both of you have said very clearly is that parents have to be parents. And that means you have to be involved, and you want to do things to protect your children, but at the same time, you also want to give them an opportunity so this way they can grow, right? And continue to flourish and most importantly, and hopefully stay protected. Because we know that this world is a bit of a challenge. That's even for us adults, right? And I that brings me to this point, because we are getting down to the bottom of the hour, because we are, as we always say, the fastest 30 minutes on radio. But one of the things that I wanted to touch on is that in the upcoming episode that we have, which is going to be part 2 of this in the series, we're going to be inviting some special guests who are going to be joining us from a place, I'm going to kind of keep it a secret until then, where they've recently enacted some very heavy-handed rules about social media. In fact, making it unlawful or restricted for those under the age of 16 to even have a social media account. So we're going to talk to them, find out how that's working out and what some of the barriers are. And most importantly, is it working? So, but for now, this is Brother Robert coming to you from here in Tampa, Florida. For Sister Joy, want to say goodbye, Sister Joy?
Oh, it was such a delight to have all of you with us. Looking forward to the next one.
Awesome. And to Sister Liza there in Tampa.
Thank you so much po for tuning in and hope to see you again po for our next episode of Sunny Side Up. Good morning po.
Thank you guys so much for joining us again. We will see you next week on another episode of Sunny Side Up Family Talks. But until then, be sure that you have those conversations with your family because they really, really are important. Have a great day.
This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ, or